Well, folks, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a good day. Before this video starts, I just want to say that, well, it's been a struggle for me recently this past week, as you guys can tell from not getting any uploads out. I had my Creek Monsters video, which, by the way, if you didn't watch that video, go check out my Creek Monsters video from last week. That video was awesome, so go check that out if you want to see some giant fish caught, some giant flathead, bowfin, and whatnot. Go check that video out. But this video is not about that. This video today, I'm going to be doing a top 10 or top 5. I think I'm going to do top 10 best fall baits to use, or best baits that my personal favorite baits to use are in the fall. If you guys don't want to hear the rest of what I have to say here and you just want to skip straight to the baits, straight to the action, I don't blame you. I'll leave a timestamp right here. Go to this timestamp, and that's when the baits will be. But if you want to stick here real quick and hear what I have to say, because I've got a few things I have to say. Number one, fishing plans got canceled today. Fishing plans we're supposed to John boat fish on a lake, but yeah, it's not happening anymore. The problem is it might not seem like a lot. It's just raining, but it's gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse over time. I think we've got that hurricane or whatever, and there's another hurricane coming in from the north. So unfortunately, we couldn't get a video out today, fishing related. Well, I mean, I guess I am making a fishing related video, but I couldn't go out on the water today and fish. I went out on the water yesterday. It went horribly wrong because I just don't have a lot of baits on me right now. I'm probably gonna run to Bass Pro Shops. I don't have a lot of baits on me, so it's just been a struggle this past week. The weather has not been good. I've been focusing on a lot of classwork and stuff, and I apologize about that. I apologize about not getting any videos out since the Creek Monsters video, but hopefully this doesn't really matter to you guys. But yeah, I just want to say I apologize about that. But enough of that. I'm going to finish my Bojangles here. You know, we got the normal Bojangles in the morning, so it's about 8:20, so I think I'm gonna head to Bass Pro Shops, get some baits, and then I'm gonna discuss them with you guys on the best fall baits. And yeah, hopefully this will help you guys out. Maybe if you're looking for some ideas on some baits to throw, because I know I haven't even went fall shopping yet. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. And yeah, let's get straight to the baits. So it's finally fall. These fish are moving in real shallow up in the lakes, ponds, rivers, wherever you're fishing. Which is very good news for bank anglers. This makes fishing a lot easier for bank fishermen because we're just coming off the summer. It's not very easy to catch fish off the summer, off the bank. So this is a chance for these bank anglers to get out there and really catch some big fish now that they're moving up shallow. And boaters as well. Boaters can also catch some really nice fish as well. But specifically for bank anglers, the fall is the season you want to be fishing if you're looking to get some good numbers and some good size, because you can't do it during the summer on a big lake. You cannot fish from the bank and expect good numbers. It's just not going to happen on a consistent basis. So it's finally the fall. Now I'm going to show you guys my favorite baits to throw during the fall. I don't know if it's 10 or if it's over or a little bit under, but I'm going to show you guys my favorite baits to throw for the fall and talk about them all in description. So yeah, jump straight to it. So coming in at number 10, and by the way, this is in no particular order at all. This is literally in no particular order, so don't say this is, you know, the worst and then move on to the best. That's not how this is working. I'm just choosing my favorite, my personal favorite, and I'll tell you kind of when I use them and where to use them. So starting off with, I'm just going to pick out first what comes up. This right here is a Buzzbait. Now, I don't like to throw topwater that much, but when I have to, my favorite is definitely a Buzzbait. And this is a very good bait, really year-round, except for during the winter. Obviously, you don't want to be throwing topwater during the winter, but summer, this bait is amazing. Fall, this bait can be really, really good if you're not looking to throw, you know, a big popper or a big spook, something of that matter. If you're looking to, you know, crank this down in the water and really speed up your pace and make sure that you're targeting as many fish as possible, a buzzbait is the way to go. I always use the black color. I've never had any luck on like a chartreuse color or a lighter color of that matter. I've never had any luck on them, so I just run with the black color. I've actually got a bandito bug as a trailer here. So buzzbaits, I wouldn't recommend them on a colder day, later fall. It's not going to work, but early fall to late summer, like right about now, and for the next, I'd say probably next month or so, probably next month, you can throw a buzzbait this time of year depending on where you live and depending on the water temperatures, and you'll get bites. Early morning and late evening, this guy will work. So that's coming in at number 10. Like I said, this is in absolutely no order as well. But moving on to another bait, which I'm sure most people can agree on, is a spinnerbait. This is a little tiny spinnerbait. I'm trying to show like different types of these baits, just baits that people really don't see that often, because you'll see these videos on YouTube and they'll be the same exact spinner baits and whatnot. So I'm trying to get a little bit different ones, get a little creative with it, so you guys can kind of see different varieties. This is a spinner bait. I don't really use this, but the spinner bait is a very, very good bait for the fall. I'm not saying I don't use spinner baits in the fall, but I don't use this specific one. But I always go with chartreuse colors. Chartreuse white colors. It just works best for me, and I don't even have shad in most of my ponds. I mostly have golden shiner and bluegill, and white seems to do just fine with a Kitech rigged on backwards. And yeah, spinnerbait, you can fish this pretty much the entire fall season. Doesn't matter when. You want to be targeting wood, really any sort of structure, even open water, some sort of riprap. Where these fish are going to be, because during the fall they're all up shallow. All these fish are moving up to come feed on bait fish. They're coming up to feed on shad. Whatever your main forage species is for these bass, that's what they're coming in to feed on. So that's probably the color scheme you want to go with. I personally love silver. Silver is definitely my favorite spinnerbait color, but whatever your forage species is that these fish are relying on and eating, that's the color you want to go with. So spinnerbait is definitely another option you want to be focusing on during the fall. Now, moving in to a little bit of controversy here. I'm not a huge fan of crankbaits, I'll be honest with you. I am not a huge fan of crankbaits, but I do know they do work in lakes and larger reservoirs, not necessarily ponds too much. And I fish a lot of ponds, which is probably why I have a love-hate relationship for them. But coming in as our third bait, we have lipless crankbaits. Now, I've got a few different kinds. I've got this one. I've got this one's also really good. Right here, these are all KVD red eyes. One thing I would say about these baits is if you get the smaller kinds, these smaller KVD red eyes or whatever brand you get, maybe it's not the same for all, but with the smaller the bait you get, usually the cheaper the hooks get. So try and refrain from getting these smaller ones. And if you do get one of the smaller ones, which I would be using smaller ones more than bigger ones because I fish ponds more. If you do get one of the smaller ones like this, go ahead and just get ready to get some treble hooks as a replacement, because, you guys can see right there. I don't know if the camera's going to get it. It probably will. Let's see. You guys can see right there, that hook is already bent out. That hook is bent out there, and then another hook on this one is bent out. So, well, yeah, it's no fun. Get some treble hooks when you get these baits, when you get these lures here. And one thing people always say is fish lipless crankbaits in grass. I never understand why they ever say that, because the grass I fish is hydrilla. I fish heavy grass. In the south, you would know a lot about heavy grass. I'm assuming most of those people are up north where the grass isn't as thick. But if you're fishing thick grass in the south, don't throw this in grass. You will just get it all caught up on those trebles, and they say rip it through. You're not going to be able to rip it through. I don't care how good you are at fishing a lipless crankbait. If you're fishing southern grass, heavy grass, you're not getting this through that. So don't throw this in grass like they say if you're down south and it's real heavy grass. It's not. Trust me, you don't want to be picking at grass every single cast. You're just wasting time and you're wasting opportunities to catch fish. But other than that, throwing a lipless crankbait around riprap. Also, another option is a square bill if you don't like lipless cranks. Square bill is basically, it just dives a little bit shallower, and it's really great for riprap. I don't know very many ponds and lakes in this area that have riprap fish brain notification, but yeah. Square bills, lipless cranks, these guys work on those larger reservoirs, not necessarily ponds too much unless it's a larger pond. So if you fish reservoirs and lakes from the bank, go to the coves, go where there's some wood, where there's some structure, where you know there's some fish when you've been there before, and you will definitely get bit with these baits right here. Okay, so coming in at our next bait, it's another topwater bait here, and it's stuck. Okay, so coming in at our next bait here, it's another topwater bait. I'm not a huge fan of topwater, like I said, but if I'm going to be throwing topwater, it's going to be on the phone, it's going to be these baits. So next bait is a popper. Now, you could argue spook, you could argue popper, you could argue anything basically, but I prefer poppers over spooks. Spooks are a little bit too big of a presentation for me, and they just don't really match any of the forage species down here in the south where I am. But poppers and spooks, pretty much the same thing. But yeah, if you've got smaller bait fish, popper is definitely the way to go over spook. Either way, I just prefer poppers. I think I get more bites on poppers than I do spooks, and spooks are a little big and fish can be a little bit finicky about them. So silver popper, this can imitate pretty much anything. most likely you're not going to be throwing this as a bluegill, but shad, golden shiner, any type of shad, this bait right here will get it done. If you know where these fish are, if there's bass schooling up in a reservoir or in a smaller lake, and you know where they are and you see them schooling up in a cove or wherever in a cut, this bait right here, if you can cast on top of their heads, you will get a ton of bites. I can promise you that. So this is the only, I think this is the only other topwater bait I have on the fall. Like I said, you don't really want to be throwing this late fall. When it gets colder, those water temps won't really help your bite out. So to throw this early fall and mid fall, depending on where you live, depending on what the water temperatures are. Oh, geez. But yeah, popper is the next bait. So let's move on to another bait here. We're going to move on to soft plastics. This bait right here is a bait that works pretty much year-round, and that is the shaky head. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of the shaky head until about last year when I started using it, and it started working tremendously during the late summer and early fall. This bait shocked me even this year, this summer. Like I said, this is a bait you can throw pretty much year-round. I know a lot of people will suggest throwing this during the winter because that's when the bass get real finicky and that's when they don't like to eat. So this kind of just slows it real down, and it's just a perfect worm presentation right there. So if you get it right in front of their nose, they're going to want to eat it. And you've got two different kinds, really, that I've seen. You've got these standard ones with the screw, and you just screw it right in, and then it's pretty simple to rig up. And then you've got these ones here with, they've got like a little knob right here, like a jig, and you put it in, just Texas rigged, and then put it back up like that. I don't have it weedless right now because I'm not fishing, obviously. You guys can probably hear it raining right now. So unfortunate that I couldn't get out on the water today. But yeah, shaky heads, fish them all fall long. Doesn't matter what the water temps are. You can fish this the entire season and you will get bites no matter what. If the bite is real finicky, this is the bait you want to resort to right here. Or a wacky rig, just a wacky rig trick worm. That also gets the job done. I didn't add this on here because it's pretty much a no-brainer that wacky rigs always work. Wacky rig trick worms. So I prefer the green pumpkin magic color during the fall. That's definitely my favorite bait. I catch the biggest fish and the most fish on green pumpkin magic, the color on my trick worms, on my shaky heads. So if you want to get a little bit of reference there, well, there you go. So that's my next bait. Moving on, we have got one of my favorite baits of all time for bass fishing. They're pretty much the same thing, but swim jigs and flipping jigs. This right here is a finesse jig. Now, I would recommend throwing the more finesse style jigs during the fall, the smaller presentations, not the huge big jigs like you'd be throwing in the winter. I'd recommend the big jigs in the winter, and during the fall get those smaller, more finesse jigs like I have right here, a green pumpkin jig. As far as it goes with jigs, I only use two different colors. Green pumpkin, some type of green pumpkin color, whether it's actually green pumpkin or maybe a different color that's kind of similar but not quite, and black and blue. I only use those two colors. Those are the only colors you'll see me throw with jigs because that's, in my opinion, that's all you need to do. You don't need to be extra. You can just use black and blue and green pumpkin. And how I break it down is if it's clear water, you want to throw green pumpkin. If it's dirtier water, you want to throw black and blue. If the water isn't clear and it has kind of a brown tint to it, a murky tint to it, like in a lot of the ponds and lakes down here, go and throw yourself a black and blue jig and throw. Usually my favorite trailers on them are rage tail craws and bandito bugs. You can throw them on there and they will get the job done. They have perfect action on them. So yeah, let me go get one of those real quick. These guys right here, these are, I think, baby blue. Baby blue is my favorite bandito bug color. Throw this on black and blue or green pumpkin. I prefer this on green pumpkin. And then save something like this. These rage tails are really, really good for swim jigs. Like this right here, you guys can see this is my favorite swim jig loader right here. This is a Strike King swim jig. Definitely my favorites. Real cheap. Literally not expensive at all. And I throw a rage tail all the time on these guys. How I work with swim jigs is color-wise is if it's a white or silver color, a bait fish color, then I'm going to be throwing a white/silver Kitech swim bait. Now, if it's more of a darker green pumpkin color, which is what I prefer throwing, then I'm going to use a rage tail or some sort of craw that has, appendages that are going to move very good in the water. So rage tail is my favorite. I'll either throw a black and blue rage tail and mix it up with the green pumpkin because that looks really, really good in the water and it just gives it off a really nice flare, especially on rainy days. Rainy days, this is the loadout I go with. Or I'd throw just a green pumpkin rage tail on the back of this guy. So swim jigs, throw them all season long, you'll get bites. I can promise you. Swim jig is actually my favorite bait to throw of all time for bass. I'm not saying it's the best bait of all time, but it's my favorite bait to throw personally. And I just love swim jigs. I love the way they look, love the way they feel, love the way I fish them. So yeah, jigs. Fish them year round. They're one of the best bass baits out there. Jigs, in my opinion, they're probably the best bass bait out there. Not swim jigs so much, but flipping jigs. So jigs all season long. We already know that. So moving on to another bait here. Now I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball at you guys here, and check this out. These guys right here, these are rooster tails. They're a type of inline spinner. You can get any type of inline spinner, but trout spinners, you know, inline spinners, stuff like that. This is when the bite gets real finicky. This is late fall type bait. I wouldn't throw this early fall because those fish are gorging on bait fish, bigger fish, and they're really trying to get fat. So if you throw one of these little guys around, it's probably not going to do you very good. You're not going to catch very many big fish. You'll probably catch a lot of fish because this is a really good numbers bait. But this is actually the same bait I caught my personal best smallmouth on up in the Delaware. It's completely irrelevant, but yeah, I just want to let you guys know that. Go check out the Delaware River series, by the way, if you're new to this channel. You haven't seen that yet. I posted a river fishing series on my channel, so go check that out. Enough of that. But yeah, late fall, you want to be throwing something small. You want to start to slow your presentation down, kind of make it so that these fish are getting, you know, they want your bait. And with these rooster tails, these small inline spinners, this is the perfect bait fish imitation for that late fall cold water condition. You've got this silver color, which can imitate anything from a minnow to a small shiner / shad, because they can get pretty small. You can throw maybe a bigger size like this guy right here. This color is a black color. I wouldn't really recommend a black color unless you're fishing for smallmouth and trout. And you can throw one of these bigger colors if you're looking for those bigger fish. Very simple. And yeah, this is a very, very good late fall bait. I'm sure not a lot of you guys have really tried this or really knew I was going to say this, but rooster tails, spinnerbaits. Spinnerbaits are good, but it's not this one. But yeah, rooster tails, inline spinners, whatever you have that you saw, whatever you prefer, these guys will get the job done late fall. I can promise you that. Now, moving on to my final two baits. They're kind of similar, but not really because they fish them completely different. I have, starting off with a Fluke right here, or a jerk bait. Now, I classify these as the same thing, jerk bait or Fluke. Whatever you prefer is whatever you should go with, in my opinion. I prefer Flukes so I can get them through grass and so I can get them through cover with it weedless. I just always prefer Flukes instead of, I always prefer just in general soft plastics over hard baits. So I throw Flukes. If you like jerk baits, go with jerk baits. It's virtually the same thing, just a different presentation. One's a little more expensive than the other. I just go with the cheaper Super Fluke here. Just simple Texas rig it with a offset worm hook and put it right through, and then you just want to, I use spinning gear most of the time on my Flukes, and this thing will dive down about a foot into water, and it can really do some damage if you've got a rainy day or a cloudier day and you know where these fish are. If you know they're packed tight to cover and they're just schooled up, and you can run this thing through that cover and they will eat this all the time no matter what. So pretty much I'd say pretty much all season long you could throw a Fluke. I wouldn't really throw it too late in the season, so I'd probably say early to mid fall. You want to throw this guy right here, and yeah, you probably want to refrain from it early winter to late fall. And then the last bait, I believe, is, like I said, a similar bait, but extremely simple. That right there is a swim bait. Now, I wouldn't recommend throwing a Zoom swim bait. They're not horrible, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend getting Kitech swim baits. Those are my favorite swim baits, but literally as simple as it, a swim bait with a simple swim bait hook, put it right through. You've got yourself an amazing bait fish imitation. The fish aren't even going to bother. They're not going to bother looking at it. They're going to see it, and they're going to know that that's something that they want to eat no matter what type of fish it looks like. No matter if it looks like a shad and you don't even have shad in the pond. They're going to see it moving in the water very nicely, and they're going to want to eat it because that's just how swim baits work. They just can't resist them. That's the main fish that bass are eating is fish. That's their main forage species, is just bait fish. So just something as simple as a swim bait will work just fine. You can fish this all season long, but you'd have to fish it a bit differently. For early fall and mid fall, you can fish it just swimming it in. But late fall to early winter, what I would say is you would need to jig it off the bottom. What I do is I actually throw it on a Texas rig. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take one of these swim baits and I'll either throw it on a Texas rig or I'll throw it on a swim bait hook if there's no cover, if there's no muck. If you have muck and dirty bottoms with a lot of cover and wood, you don't want to be throwing a swimbait hook off the bottom. You want to be throwing a Texas rig weedless with a weight on it. And I will just jig it up and off the bottom as slow as I can and just try and get it right in front of their face, because when it goes up, that paddle tail is moving, and it's moving on its way down as well. And if you can get that right in front of a bass, it's going to see that, it's going to look at it, and then you're going to get the bite. So Swimbait, another amazing bait for me. And I believe we cleared house. Yeah, look at that. So that is all the baits I have for today. That is all my favorite personal fall baits. I've never done a video like this before. Go and let me know how you guys enjoyed it, if it was good. And if you liked the video, hit that like button. If you disliked the video, hit that dislike button. But I'm hoping I did something a little bit different. Not like every single other YouTuber is just saying spinnerbait, jerkbait, crankbait. They're all saying the same stuff, so I try to kind of switch it up, and this is really truly what I throw during the fall. This is not, me just trying to be different. This is actually what I throw, and actually my personal loadout, and I'd say I do really, really good during the fall, so highly recommend these loadouts. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you are new to the channel, I do post bass fishing videos and other fishing related content. Go and check out my older stuff from about a week ago, the Creek Monsters video. The video was awesome. Go check that out. Go show your support. But yeah, I'm done for today. If you are new to the channel, go and hit that subscribe button. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, folks, capture moments, create memories. I'll see you in the next video.